A few years ago, I was very content staying with the latest and greatest new games, because the old ones were ugly and didn't feature addicting things like achievements and leveling systems, so I didn't feel like going back and replaying them. I'm kind of ashamed to admit that there was a brief period where I was only playing a game to unlock the achievements, which in hindsight was really stupid. At the same time, I was also looking for games with tons of content to play. When you can get 20 days out of a multiplayer title, why ever go back to the 5 to 10 hour single player games? So 5 years ago, I would actually have to search out games featuring lots of content, but as time went on, I just couldn't get away from them. It seemed like every other title had 50 hours of things to do in it, with single player, online multiplayer, and of course, the Horde Wave defense modes. In theory, this change was very pro-consumer, but it also did hurt gaming in many ways, in my opinion. First off, it made lots of games far too similar to each other. Having the same extra activities used to pad out game hours for every other game is not a good thing. If you have played any recent Ubisoft title, then you will be very familiar with those damn climbing towers that they just keep bringing back. Fetch quests and the Call of Duty Prestige system are other examples of annoying things that just won't stay out of games that they don't belong in. It was cool in the game it started in, but you don't need them in every game. Secondly, extra padding content can often be boring, uninspired, and poorly developed. While some games like the Witcher and Grand Theft Auto series can develop decent side activities, others are just looking to drag out the average time to completion so it looks good on their store page. Older games like Max Payne were very short, but super polished and replayable, while for instance the third Max Payne in the series had an awful tacked-on multiplayer mode. Finally, modern games are often way less focused. Have you ever gone to watch Netflix and either spent over half an hour looking for something, or decided not to watch anything because there was too many choices? Well, this same kind of thing happens sometimes to me when I want to play an open world game. Sometimes having other people make the small decisions for you can be more beneficial, especially when you only have 45 minutes of free time to play. Older games were much more focused, which means you as a player could focus more on learning, the actual depth to the gameplay instead of worrying about useless cosmetic shit and extremely unfulfilling side quests. This goes for multiplayer games too. For instance, if Battlefield 4 just had the standard kit items like med bags and ammo packs, instead of all that other crap like UAVs and ballistic shields, then in my opinion it would actually make the game a lot better because players would be more focused on teamwork and they wouldn't have to balance the game around all these different kit options. Games having more and more content is mostly our fault because we continue to demand more and more content with each release. This is seen commonly, especially with Battlefield, with those horrible single-player campaigns because people expect a single-player campaign. Extra modes should not be a thing unless they're done right. Or they could put them in as a non-advertised Easter egg like they used to do in the old days. If a developer doesn't have enough time or money to make a secondary game mode, then there's no reason why they should make the secondary game mode. They should just focus on getting the primary game mode as best as possible. You can see that kind of going on right now with the latest Star Wars Battlefront game, although to be fair, that game has plenty of other issues worth discussion that I'm not really a fan of. At this point, you're probably wondering why I don't just not play the extra content and don't complain about it. Well, some games, like the Saints Row series, force you to do their side activities to pad out the main game, and you can't beat the main game without doing side activities. It's bullshit. The second reason is it takes development resources, although it's hard to say if they would have been given the funds used for the extra mode if they hadn't developed it. Now, role-playing games have always had lots of content, and they kind of get a pass here, but the problem these days is that every game wants to be an RPG. And in the past, RPGs were more new, they're a more novel thing, not all games had it. Now, with more and more RPG-type games coming up, they're going to have to actually try harder than just having fetch quests, because fetch quests are really boring, and at this place in time, we should really be beyond that. So, do you like lots of content in your games, or a more focused experience? Let me know down below. With all the players that Counter-Strike is gaining these days, it seems like a lot of players are getting really sick of all the fluff and bullshit that was going on with both Call of Duty, Battlefield, and other multiplayer shooters that were just throwing balance out the window in favor of giving players new toys to play around with.